Hello, viewers. Welcome to today's edition of Aura News Flash documentary on Aura USA history. With you today is Deacon Charles Anumodo, and I have with me Mazi Austin Ofoha, who is the current National Secretary of Aura USA. And we have in our midst our distinguished guest, Sir Obinna, Chief Sir Obinna Duruji. Before I go on, I will like him to introduce himself to our viewers by himself so we can know who he is before we ask him the first question. Chief Obinna.
Okay. Yes. I'm not a sir.
Oh, okay. Okay. So thank you for that correction. Go ahead with the introduction of yourself.
I'm Obinna Duruji. And I used to be the other legal advisor for several years. I think I served under two tenures of Gibson Chibu
Okay.
and Emeki
Emeki Wunza.
Wunza, sorry.
Okay.
So before I got appointed to Nigeria as Commissioner for Education,
Okay.
and while throughout my stay in Nigeria, they still left me as the legal advisor and had somebody acting on my behalf.
Okay.
When I finished, I came back in 2005. I then requested that I be excused since I just came back.
Okay.
And that was the second tenure of Emeki Wunza.
Okay. Thank you. Chief Duruji. Apart from Emeka Iwunze and Gibson Chibu Stenius, did you serve with any other president, interim president, or leader of Aura USA prior to serving with Chibu in any other capacity?
No, I was the pioneer legal advisor of the Aura USA Dallas branch
Okay.
before I got to be the national legal advisor.
Okay. So were you there in the beginning when the idea of forming Aura USA was decided on or muted by who? That's what we're interested in knowing. The first time Aura USA idea came up, how did it come up? Were you there at that time?
I was there. We had the first inaugural meeting in Dallas. We invited the Houston and several other state chapters. And to the best of my recollection, Dallas played a championing role in the formation of Aura USA national body.
Okay. Do you remember? Go ahead.
Before then, there used to be a meeting in Houston, but the agitation for Aura USA national was championed by Dallas in collaboration with Houston, Louisiana, where Gibson Chibu came from, and some guys in Michigan, Detroit,
Okay.
Michigan.
Okay.
And then Philip Obilo in Austin and Dr. Marshall Mada in Austin. So in every state, there were different levels of organization.
Mm-hmm.
So with the aggregation into Aura USA was the underlying issue. when we started.
Okay.
We had the different branches, different organizational setups, different leaders who championed their own causes. We mobilized to have a national union, and it worked. Many of them participated and cooperated with us until we formed it in Atlanta to 2001.
Thank you. Before I allow Austin to see if he ask any question he has, do you remember the date or the year of that inaugural meeting in Dallas?
That was to the best of my recollection, was 19. It was before 2001. Because by 2001 we had.
I know. I'm thinking I've had.
Can't recollect the exact date.
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard some people say it's 1995, some say 96.
We
That's
started
why. Hmm?
1991 in Dallas.
That's the Dallas local
Yeah.
association.
Yes, it was
Okay.
1991. Chief Obinna Duruji as the president, first president.
Okay.
The
Yeah, lower, bring your phone down a little bit so we can see you more. Okay. And Chris Anyam. Okay.
After Emmanuel Yomumele, it was Chris Anyam who became the president.
Okay. Mazia Ofaha, do you have any questions? You can ask it now.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chief Duruji, I want to thank you immensely for coming to this program. You came strongly recommended because some people thought you would have something to say concerning deception of ORAUSA. And I appreciate what you are saying so far. But I will take you back a little bit to time. You said Houston was existing as an organization in Houston, and Dallas existed as far back as 1991. Now, when, or rather, where was the first meeting to articulate the concept of having a national body for Omolo in United States? Where was this first meeting to articulate this debate of a national body? Where and when, if you can remember?
Do you mean the address or the city?
The city, of course.
Okay.
The city and the year, possibly, if you can remember.
We got the election in 1991. The executive came on board and started the mobilization. So it would be somewhere late 1991 or 1992. Because Dr. Collins Okey came to the meeting. So many recent guys came. And Gibson Chibu came from Louisiana.
He came to Dallas?
Yes, he came from Louisiana to Dallas.
Okay.
And there's a Philip Obilom from Austin. In Atlanta. Some of them came. I remember their names now. So it was in Dallas that we laid the ground rules. We reached an understanding that we will float the national body. Everybody agreed. The assignment were given to the people and state branches to articulate their positions on some of the issues. Then in 2001, we had formed the organization. We were going to hold the first national convention. We were all free to Atlanta and drafted the Constitution, which I presented during the convention, and it was ratified by the ORA Assembly in Atlanta.
Okay.
Actually, we have a follow-up question.
Go ahead.
Yes. Thank you, Chief. I want you to do us the favor of calling names where possible. We are interested in the key actors at the inception of ORAUSA. You did mention Collins Okay here. Who headed that interim body before the Atlanta? You said you first met in Dallas, then Atlanta. That seemed like a long period, 10 years. I would want to know what happened in those intervening years. Did you have meeting in Houston thereafter? Did you have meeting elsewhere like Los Angeles before this Atlanta? And who were the leaders at these meetings, if any?
We had meeting in Houston. We had during the intervening years.
Yes.
It was a question of mobilization of various states to form their chapters and come on board.
Okay.
So when we started, we had only individuals, but they didn't have the crowd behind them. So we mobilized them and advised them to go back and mobilize their local cities to agreeing to join the National Union, as well as forming and stabilizing their state chapters. So the intervening years was just for mobilization, which wasn't easy. But for some people didn't have chapters before then. It took these key individuals to go back and mobilize. Austin did the same thing. We were in Austin. We attended various cities events, like the annual parties or their conventions. We, the key actors, always attended to speak to the local audience and mobilize them and explain to them the necessity for an all national union for the development of the home base, as well as the welfare of the diasporans. So that was why it took so long. But in 2001, we had gathered enough momentum to be able to schedule a convention in Atlanta, draft and review a constitution, which we achieved during the weekend.
So I think one of the questions is who was the leader at that time? Did you have an interim leader, interim president, or whatever it was called?
The leader at that time, there was no national leader on the journey to Atlanta.
Okay.
We got to Atlanta and elected the first president.
Okay.
Chief, I would imagine that during the intervening period, you had a body that was coordinating activities of the plan.
Yeah, the interim executive.
Yeah, that the interim executive. This interim executive would have had leaders. Are you able to remember some of these leaders of the interim executive? And were there meetings, formal meetings you had in some cities before Atlanta?
Yes, we had meeting in Dallas. Christian was the local president and provided the necessary logistics for the hosting. We had meeting in Austin, if I remember. They invited us. I don't clearly remember us having a working central committee. It was this various chapter president that were used to coordinate the activities, reporting to the local organizations. And to the extent that we had a consensus and the necessary mobility to agree to meet in Atlanta in 2001. So I have no clear recollection of who the acting interim president was. I remember that I was a member of the committee, the constitutional committee, mandated to draft the constitution, and I participated actively, did the draft, made the presentation, and Holiday Inn in Atlanta. Vidoma was in attendance. Chief Rocha was in attendance. And there we adopted the constitution and elected Gibson, who now became the national president and took it from there. So, if I may suggest, you may contact Chris Anyam, Sir Chris Anyam, or Chief Emmanuel
Yeah.
who was the first president, and he was one of our very influential members. We respected him because of his age and presence. So he played a lot of stabilizing role. Gibson Chibu came from Louisiana and had a major presence as an individual. We mandated him to go and harmonize the issues in Louisiana because there were minor skirmishes between the members. So this, the way we were intervening, individuals took it upon themselves to do the legwork. I was in forefront of the activities that culminated into the Atlanta Convention in 2001.
Okay, Chief, to help your recollection, if it's actually going to help, what role did late Collins Okehe play at this early stage?
Because he had a lot of presence in Houston, and one of the oldest citizens in Houston. We respected his position, his age, as well as his influence in Houston metropolis. He wasn't a secretary. He wasn't a vice president, but we always called on him. There was a time we made him, I think, a chairman of a committee, but that committee didn't perform. We felt frustrated for 2-3 years. There was dormancy.
What was this committee called? What were they supposed to do? What committee was it you talking about?
We were supposed to be more reaching out to various chapters, monitoring their unification process, because the various states had chapters that had one internal crisis or the other. So this steering committee was supposed to reach out to them and continue to mobilize them and conscientize them towards an regional assembly of national status. So because the first committee headed by Okehe, I hope, didn't perform, it took us time to be able to regain ourselves to launch forward again. That was why there was a lot of gap.
Okay.
Did I make it there?
Yeah. You are saying what you are saying now coincides with what we have had in the past. The only difference is that you said he was the chairman of an interim committee for mobilization of various chapters. The other information is some people thought he was the interim president of the National Association. So there's still that difference. Are you going to comment on that? What was he also the interim president of the National Association, or just committee?
I think the national, because we depended on him, and we felt disappointed when he couldn't move with the speed we wanted, and couldn't appear to have the time. I think it was a question of time. He didn't appear to have the time to commit to it. So time elapsed without us having a lot to show it.
Yeah. Okay.
I would have loved to, I would love Chief to clarify this, because Chief, we had the opportunity to speak to one or two people, and we heard that there was a formal meeting in Houston, even before Dallas, to start a national body. That Dallas was like a follow-up to the Houston meeting. So the idea of a national body was first mooted at the Houston gathering of the various people and affiliates, as it were.
Yeah, was he
Would
in
you
that
want to
meeting?
comment? Sorry?
Was he in that meeting in Houston?
Yeah, were you in that meeting? And would you want to say more about that meeting if you were there?
To the best of my recollection, I was. And we had a meeting, which nothing happened thereafter, creating a vacuum before we jump-started it again from Dallas' point of view.
Okay. And it appears after Dallas, there was another period of dormancy before it was jump-started in Atlanta again. Is that correct? Chief, did you hear me?
Having problem with his internet.
Okay. Chief, are you there? Hello? Chief?
And his internet is hanging. Chief, if you can hear us, you might have to log out and log in again if you have issues with your internet.
Yeah,
I think it's just
out.
that.
No.
Yeah. Are you still on record? You can pause it.
Yeah. Let me see if I can pause it. Pause. Okay. Mazi Austin, can you finish your question?
Yeah, I hope I remember exactly. Chief, wanted to know.
No, whether he was in that Houston meeting.
Yes, I think, yes. Wanted to know if you were in that Houston convention or the Houston gathering, and is it possible you can put a date? What I mean by that, I mean year, when that meeting held. And if you can remember those who were in attendance, that would also help.
I've been out of US for some time, and I've lost currency, persons and names.
Okay, yeah,
No,
yeah.
the ones you can remember, if you can remember, that's
the major ones.
Yeah.
From Atlanta, there was Ugo Enyemobie.
Yeah, Imobi. And
there was a tall, huge guy who was in the U.S. Army.
Okay. And did you see Chris Nwachukwu there?
Chris Nwachukwu was there. He was with us in Los Angeles when we went to draft the Constitution. Chris Nwachukwu was there.
Okay.
And a few other guys you will remember.
Of course, Emeka Wednesday and co were there, and Chris Anyam, right?
From Dallas, yes.
Okay.
That huge guy, could it be Odenibo? No?
Odenibo, God bless you.
Yeah, okay.
And
did you
Atlanta,
have Obilom and Ibezim there? And Mado, Asha Mado from Austin?
From Austin, yes.
Was Ibezim there, Francis Ibezim?
To the best of my recollection, yes, because he was featured prominently from Austin.
Okay. Was Unebu there from Detroit?
Unebu became the first board chairman.
That's why I wanted to know if he was at that meeting.
Was I can't be. Yes, I think he was there because he participated actively.
That's Unebu from Detroit, right?
From Detroit, yes, and one other guy, can't remember his name now.
Was it Chris?
Jeff.
Was it Chris Onwuzurike?
Chris Onwuzurike and Jeff Uji.
Okay.
Chris Onwuzurike, yes, the guy that asked a lot of questions.
Okay.
Okay.
There was this other guy. I can't remember his name now. It's been over 15 years.
Okay.
You remember his city?
Ezikozo. There's one guy called Ezikozo in
Livinus.
Livinus in
No,
Houston.
not.
Okay.
Okay, so you may go on.
Okay. Let's go.
Do you remember the year this meeting took place in Houston? The year?
Yeah, it's hard to remember because
So,
it's been a long time.
I don't remember that year, but
Yeah.
it was 1991.
Okay. Chief, you told us that you were a member of the Constitution Drafting Committee. Were you the chairman?
I was the chairman.
Were you the chairman?
Yes.
Well, I must note that that committee did a very, very good job producing that constitution.
And Chris Nwachukwu was the secretary. But
That was,
because he thought I could deal with it, he asked me to write the draft.
okay.
So I did the draft, to the amazing surprise of everybody. It turned out to be a thorough work.
He was very thorough.
Yeah.
And very thorough.
That's still the Constitution in operation. We have hardly had amendments except to capture or reflect the modern trends. But that was a very comprehensive job you did, Chief.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot.
Apart from you and Chris Nwachukwu, do you remember any other member of that committee? Apart from the delegates, I mean those who took active part in drafting the text.
I will mention Gibson Chibu again because he
Okay.
was a front line.
Okay.
And who else do I remember now?
Okay, if you don't remember, we can find out from other sources. It's been a long time. We cannot remember everything from memory. Justin, do you have any question for Chief?
Well, one last question is, Chief, would you tell us what role you played after the Atlanta Convention? Did you just fizzle out, or were you still active?
He says the legal advisor.
Yes. Okay, you were still legal advisor after the Atlanta Convention.
Up till Emeka Iwunze.
Up till Emeka Iwunze.
Okay, so you handed over to Chris Nwachukwu as legal advisor, I guess?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Chief, when you look at ORA USA today, how do you see it? Do you think that the goals of those early founders have been realized in what you see today about ORA USA?
Well, to be honest with you, they have tried in sustaining the original vision, but there has not been much of a strategic approach to dealing with the situation, because it's one thing to mobilize the diaspora, it's another thing to engage the home base in a strategic partnership. If you come home during the Christmas and host an event at a homework, you may not get the requisite audience. You see people who come home driving different types of juice. So and the engagement of the grassroots has to stay away from high politics, because eventually it may not trickle down. Given the situation in Nigeria now, every effort will count. There's a lot of challenges. There's mass hunger. There's a lot of suffering. And if you're talking about building a hospital, for instance, have you checked the existing facilities? What made them to collapse? Environmental impact assessment, or you just float a project again on top of dilapidated infrastructure. So there has to be more insight and foresight into engaging the home base, making sure that the efforts reach the ground, reach the intended audience, not dealing with politicians or calling the favor of the governor, romancing the state executive. That's not the vision. The vision was to reach out to individuals who are stable, credible, and accountable for whatever resources that are entrusted in their hands, and reaching out to delivery or deliverable. So that when you come back, you see this health center was built by ORA USA. This administrative road was graded by ORA USA, something that will impact the life of the people.
Thank you, Chief.
So medical outreach program helps, but sometimes people play shy. They don't go, some don't get the information, some get it after the fact, some get it, they're not trusting enough to go. So there has to be an evaluation of the methodology of help to the home base. The times are challenging. Various scams go in different ways. If you send money, you have to monitor it and follow it and make sure the money is used for what it was intended. But the overall assessment, ORA USA has come a long way and has done relatively very well. But I am moving, suggesting and appealing for a more rejuvenated approach in engaging the grassroots, the home base. Don't flow with the trending social media. Define, determine, and ascertain the real challenges of each community. Each community has its own challenges. So a one-size-fits-all approach may not get us what we want. If you go to Amiibo, for instance, what Amiibo needs may not be what Omaka needs. They may need water, may need electricity. You find out specifically from each home-based unit what is uppermost in their mind. What can we do to touch their raw nerves? I hope I've made my point.
Yes.
You have indeed, Chief. You have. I'm just going to just bring to you information in case you didn't know. ORA USA, to a large extent, been doing some of these things you said. You probably know that we've sustained the medical mission, the free medical mission outreach from local government to local government, except within security in the last few years. We have resorted to centralized medical mission. Last year, we had it at Imo State University Hospital, Olo, for some days, where we allotted different days to different local governments. So patients came from those local governments. And you probably would know that we embarked on rice distribution to all the local government, trying to reach out to the indigent members of the various communities. In fact, we went down to not just local government, but to wards, communities, wards. Not much, but at least they say, half bread is better than none. We try to reach out. And moving forward, we've started a project now, which is ORAUSA Multipurpose Hall and Medical Center and Alolo. Construction will soon start. We did the groundbreaking ceremony in January this year. We're going to have a medical center where we will have free medical service for members of that senatorial zone with doctors on daily basis. And then we're going to be having rural medical outreach with vans to go to various communities with doctors and nurses to attend to those who cannot come to the medical center in Orlo. And of course, the event center will be open to our people, and ORAUSA will be able to use it. Just to let you know a few things, since you've been home-based for a while now, you deserve to know, being a pioneer member of ORAUSA who is home-based. These are some of the things we are doing. There are other things which I don't have to go into now, but that you know. But I can assure you that now we know where you are. Chances are that we will engage people like you more effectively in disseminating our programs to the grassroots, tapping into your experiences being home-based. You sure do know the terrain better than us, who are still away to North America. Moving forward, we will engage people like you more effectively. Thank you. Mr. Chairman, sir.
Thank you, Mazi. Chief, maybe you know that, well, you should know because you were there in Atlanta, that by next year, ORAUSA,
calling me.
oh, somebody is calling you.
Repeatedly, even though I declined to accept, it's still bothering me. But go ahead, I don't want to lose you again.
Oh, okay. Your light. Did you turn off the light, the roof light?
Okay, you need it? Can you
Yeah.
see me?
Yes.
Yeah, so we can see you. Okay. So as you know, ORAUSA will turn 25 next year.
Go ahead.
And this interview and this documentary,
I'm aware.
Yeah, so
to
I'm
the large
telling.
extent of what you are talking.
Okay, let me finish my question, then you can respond.
I'm aware of your effort of donation.
Okay, so what do you have to, Chief? Let me finish so you can respond. Yeah, what do you have to say to ORAUSA on its 25th anniversary next year? Because that's when we are likely to publish this documentary we are producing now.
Okay. Well, I would say kudos to ORAUSA. We have come a long way, and they didn't disappoint because it's not easy to sustain the momentum. So they have tried, but there is always room for improvement.
Sure.
Okay.
It should get more states to establish their chapters, as well as do a lot to encourage membership to remain on board and participate in the other activities. In those days, we used to.
The network is frozen.
Yeah, and I think